working on my Facebook. It's working on everything else. Well, I guess we'll just have to. I guess. I'll just have to push it right here, I guess. So I want to make sure it's on my Facebook, but I don't know what's going on, to be honest. Like, Facebook's being kind of weird. And I don't know how to get it to work, to be honest. So, but it says the data is sending, so whatevs. Let's just paint, I suppose, because I'm not in any hurry. So let's get this going. Let's get a background going here, I guess. I like that. A little bit lighter. Maybe a little bit darker. There you go. Cool. All right, so a couple of announcements, I think. If you're watching this later, we'll probably have to postpone Thursdays and just do Tuesdays from now on until I figure out a better schedule to do. And yeah, so just keep that in mind for now, because I'm trying to figure out like how I can fix that issue. But until I can find a good time, yeah, we're just going to kind of just do regular Tuesdays, which should be fine. I think not many people join up anyway, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal, to be honest. So, yeah, so just keep that in mind. All right, stream settings, San Jose, stream key. Yeah, I still don't know why it's not going. So right now it's supposed to be on Facebook, but it's not sending to my Facebook, and I can't figure out why that is. So maybe I have to reset the key or something like that. I don't know. Who knows? But we'll figure that out later. But anyways, moving on. Let's paint. And let's grab a couple of brushes here that I could possibly use. Let's see, texture. Ooh, this one, I think we got a winner there at 15C. I think 15C might be the one. And I'm just trying to find a cool. All right, that kind of works. The reason why I like this one is just the texture for the most part, so that's all that I really want from it. And we can always lower that, which is the goal. But I wonder if we can get some warmer tones in here. And I wonder if we can get some darker tones in here, but let's go with the warmer tones first. Probably, yeah. When I say warm, I mean that kind of warm. So, there you go. Cool. All right, Mr. Fitz, what's going on, dude? So, and let's see if we can, not that saturated. All right, so maybe like that. So yeah, I think something like that. All right, 15C, what does 15D do? Ooh, I like that one too. Anytime we can get like a little bit of noise, I think is always good. So anyways, just trying to block some stuff out here. And on the other side, make this a little bit lighter. And when in doubt, Control Y will be, whoops, Control Y is not that proof setup. Let me fix that. Working gain dot 20%. There we go. Had that set up incorrectly. So yeah, we're just trying to make some big brushes, some big strokes. Just to kind of make sure that things are working the way I want them to. Nice. It's always nice to do some painting warm-ups. Is this a flat one? Ooh, this one might be good too. I kind of like that one. Ooh, that one might be nice. So, gotta do maybe a eraser. Brush, soft, texture. Yeah, texture erase might be the one to kind of roll with here. Now, I do think we need to... Oh shit, you know what? I was on the wrong layer this entire time. Like a noob. Oh no, I wasn't. Never mind. I thought I was. Okay, I'm good. Ooh. I was small kind worried there for a second. I thought I didn't separate the layer. Because that would have sucked. Alright, let's make that a little bit bigger. Okay, cool. So sometimes what might help here actually is if I want to make sure I have like the right, if I'm painting like just in general, let's see here, extras, view, rulers. Sometimes it's nice to kind of have a layer of which like you want, especially with like landscapes. This can be kind of helpful here. It helps you kind of keep track of like how small things you want to, how small you want things to be. Because I know sometimes like it's really easy to get like to make things bigger than usual, and I probably want this more condensed, like down to there actually. See, but what I don't want is I don't want it to snap, so that's good too. So this might help me in a way keep track of like how tall I want something to be. Especially when it comes to like pushing stuff backwards. So now if I do want to have a little bit of that light in my head, I just kind of... And I don't want to keep the brush too big here. I don't want to be too small is what I mean. Because I don't want to like sit here and waste time on like smaller details when I'm just kind of blocking stuff in my head. Alright, cool. And then maybe I can turn that stuff off. View extras. See, there we go. But in my head, eventually I do want to kind of fix some of these things up. Oh, I kind of lost that, did I lose the texture there? Kind of. Where'd all that texture go? I mean, it's kind of there, but not really. Alright, I can kind of mess with this stuff later, so let's make a new layer here. And let's see if we can... Cool. Alright, that works. Oh, it's flat. Oh yeah, that probably works better. I'll fill it with a different color later. those edges back. So yeah, this definitely needs to be like a darker bluish kind of color. So let's fix that. So something along the lines of that might be a better situation. But how much better is the question. Oh yeah, I gotta release the painting thing, because I have the new comp weekly actually, and I didn't do it, so that needs to be done as well. Oh, that's kind of an interesting. It's kind of an interesting brush shape. But I don't think this is the one that I want to be using, to be honest. I think probably that is what I want to be using. But obviously I don't want this color. Now maybe I want to choose a brush that has a little bit more of a softer edge, like that. So I may want to go back and forth here. Or, you know what I could do too is, like if I want to create a nice little shadow pattern, I could just do that, right? And then that kind of does it for me. And then maybe go back to this guy right here. Kind of create some of those textures. So let's go back to that rotation. Oh, okay, that works. That actually works pretty well. So this one's good for like creating texture, it feels like. But I wish I could cover more ground with this. It has rotation, so that's good. How do I get more out of it? That's the question. So it feels like too messy in a way. I kind of don't like it. But there's some interesting things happening there. So we'll leave this to... Oh, you know what? We could use this. This might work. And then we just make this like a little bit of a lighter color or something. Yeah, I think that's probably what I want to go for here. That works. Rennie-san, yo, dude, appreciate it, man. I'm glad that that shit could help. That's huge, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Sorry, I'm trying to like figure out how I would. Like I'm exploring different ways of kind of like rendering, but like doing it in a painterly way. And normally I'd think of it like shape, value, pattern, texture, but you know I kind of like those kind of studies that you see people do, the kind of Jamie Jones, John Park style. And I'm trying to find my way to kind of do my own version of that that works for me, but still fits the way I like to think. So I have no clue on how I'm gonna actually do this. So again, I'll probably start over. So usually if that happens and I feel like it's not working, I feel like I gotta start over in order to kind of get this to work right. Because sometimes, like, some people can do it that way, but I just don't think it works for me. Or maybe I just don't have enough practice with this. Let's try this again in my head, what I want to do. So we'll try it again, and we'll try it the more graphic way, the more way that I'm more used to doing it. But like, I'm always trying to kind of explore different ways of doing things, just to see like if I really am like trying it like the most proper way, or if I'm always trying to do it like a better way. Like, is there another way to approach something? So I'm always thinking about that. And so layers can be your friend here, and that's where I feel like if I had layers to kind of figure out some of these shapes, and then I erase from it, that actually might be a better ordeal. You know what I mean? Like, so now if I go in here, let's say that I make a layer for like every hint of information that I want to convey, then that might be it. And maybe what I do is I actually take that, but instead I use these kind of crazy brushes, but I just separate everything onto a different layer here and there. So we'll see how that goes. I'm glad that you're getting into to graphic sketching. That's dope. That's huge, man. It's a fun thing to attempt. So no, I don't want to delete that. I want to use this. I hope it is. I hope it's working out for you. That's all I can say there. You know. So I think what I'm gonna try to do is I'm just gonna try to just make the shapes the way I normally would. So that would be kind of doing this. Right. Those are the shapes. And then switch to a brush or something that has the shapes that I like, and then, you know, go from there. So let's just say like this brush right here has some texture that is like, you know, somewhat interesting for the most part. And then, you know, we go from there. So then in front of that, I would probably put another layer. So I'm trying to do it like a couple of strokes is like my goal here. Is I'm trying to like see like how minimalist I can get with something. And then we'll make another layer in front of that. And we'll go back to this brush. Maybe a little bit darker. Oh, what's up, Darnell? So. Cool, so then I have that, and then I can switch back to that brush right here. And then if I want to kind of mix it or something, right, I have that. I have that option, which is then nice. And then I can kind of go back and forth to some of these layers, and if I feel like, you know, I want to get more out of it or make it change a different color of it, you know, like right now I'm not even liking that color, so now I can do that, and that's actually kind of huge right there, the fact that I can kind of make that change, and it's not gonna like, it's not gonna ruin the painting a little bit because I made that little stroke right there, you know. So I like the fact, I like using layers, and I preach it a lot, but sometimes I don't always follow my own advice for whatever reason, because I think like, oh, I don't need layers, I can do this without it, but then obviously I get to it and I'm like, shit, I probably needed a layer right there, just because I don't feel like I'm just not one of those people that can kind of like balance things while I'm painting. And personally, like I don't think I can execute like that well. So I'm a guy that will need like layers in order to build a painting up. So cool. All right, now I can go into here, probably not make it so damn dark. See, so now we're kind of messing with texture and stuff like that, which is cool. And so now if I want to, I can maybe make some of those edges a little bit harder, that kind of stuff. Go to this layer right here. Maybe we don't have it be so crazy. And, you know, I think because I want to convey a lot of distance here, I may go back to this brush right here. And on this guy, just kind of throw in a little bit of darker shapes. And then maybe kind of erase from it a little bit. Or maybe just go back to this guy. Whoops. And here we go. So there we go. So I'm just trying to put in a little bit of shape. I'm trying to just get some of those edges there, just to kind of have a little bit nicer quality. And this guy right here, see, this is much easier now. I can get that angle like a lot sharper, you know what I mean? So that right there alone is like kind of worth like all the pain of like separating all those layers, because of the fact that I can kind of mess with this. Turn it on and off. Cool. I'm with it. And this guy can definitely use some more loving if I do this correctly. So I'm just kind of messing with some of the shapes here. And that guy's on its own wrong layer, so we'll erase that. And whoops. It's too tall. Okay, cool. So now that we have some of that stuff figured out, we have some of this stuff figured out. All right, go back to that mountain shape in the back again. And so this time what I should do is I should probably just use the lasso tool. I feel like that would be a better use of my time. At least that way I can really kind of make sure that I like get everything that I want. So right there, like I can now kind of assume like, hey, you know what, that's not gonna work. There we go. So I think those proportions are better. I can sample this and just go a little bit darker, a little less saturated. See, so that's like a better situation. And then I can begin to kind of like mess with it a little bit. Now what I want to do now though is I have some gradations here I can throw in. So I have all that. What I want to do though is probably link a layer to it. So this is going back to that idea of using layers again. Because like the shadows of this thing need to be like graphic, it needs to be interesting, right? It just has to have a lot of like personality to it. So I got to make sure I find like, so that brush might be like the one that I want to use, but like I kind of want to treat it like a traditional painting. Like I want to do that, but then I also want to erase from it, kind of like that. You see that? Like that creates like a really cool edge that you normally wouldn't get hoping by like erasing and kind of pushing that back in there, I'm creating some kind of visually interesting shapes by like pushing it, like using a really, really big brush to kind of like make a very bold statement, but then kind of sculpt it out in a way that I think is like interesting to me. And at the same time, I feel like I gotta find some halftones in here as well. Like I don't want there to be, you know, so maybe instead we use like a softer brush, something like that. And that softer brush is what kind of creates a little bit more of a smaller gradation or something like that, you know? Like I can kind of just erase from it a little bit more. So who knows like where I could possibly take this. But let's go back to the vertical soft. Ooh, I like that. I think that's kind of interesting. So yeah, okay. And at any point in time, if I don't like something, I should just erase it. Yeah, the purple is looking nice for now, but I'm not sure if it's gonna work for the whole thing. So I'm just trying to throw in those little hints of texture, and let's see here. My brother is calling me, so let me see what he wants. Hey, what's going on? Did Dad call me? No. Oh, what's up? Oh. Alright, sorry about that. Okay, where was I? Creating texture here. Warm values. So that's like the shape right there. And like that, this is kind of the nicer part about it, is that I don't like it. So I can go back to fixing it, or fixing the silhouette, because right now the silhouette probably isn't working either for me. So that part is kind of like is nice. So we have this going in here. I like the lighting idea here as well, so I put that back in there, but I don't know if I want that to go. So in general, this lighting isn't like ideal because it's not red enough. Well, it's not a kind of, it's kind of an ugly color. So let's go with this color actually. So that feels like a nicer situation that I could really work with here. And I can erase from that, and hopefully it will create some really nice, like really nice volumes or really nice values as I kind of work on it. So, cool. Like, that's interesting. All right, so why is that not okay? That's on the wrong layer too. So usually if I'm having trouble with that, I feel like I should just leave it alone for a little bit and kind of just edit everything else, because chances are what could be happening is whatever is currently on my page, if it's incorrect, it's influencing everything else, my future decisions. And so when you have things that are like not correct that are influencing your future decisions, like that's not always good. So I feel like I need to kind of make a change there, and I want to get some of this texture out of the way. So we have that. Wow, this thing creates a this is not good in terms of a texture. Okay, there we go. This probably is better for pushing a lot of that out. Nice, okay. I kind of abandoned this brush a long time ago, and more I'm kind of like, why did I abandon it? Because it's actually everything I needed, and for some reason I just didn't realize it at the time. So we'll see if we can utilize this to get a little more form and stuff out of these, out of some of my decision making. Okay, there we go. I think we're starting to find a rhythm here of like some of the choices that I want to make. And I think it may, I don't want to say it's always the brush, but sometimes having the brush kind of react the way that you'd like it to is always really, really nice. I am unsure. I know who Jeremy is. I'm familiar with his work, but I'm not sure which brush you're referring to in that manner, because he just definitely has a very unique style that I'm familiar with, but I'm wondering which one, which brush you're referring to when you're talking about like how he uses it in a way that you find like appealing. Because the problem with me is that I'm like an unfaithful brush person. I'll keep it 100 here. I will switch a brush up all the time, and I don't know what that is. Like, I mean, I'll use like the regular ones, like my go-to ones, like as I'm painting for sure. But you know, like I still kind of have. I'm still always kind of like just wondering, like, yeah, I'm an unfaithful brush person the more I think about it, because I'm always like, is there something better out there that I'm just not realizing? When I should just kind of be loyal to ones that have like always kind of shown me, you know, shown me promise. And for whatever reason, I don't do it. Okay, my wife is messaging me. What does she need? Order Chinese food from that spot. Wife's gonna order Chinese food. All right, I'm with that. I like that. Yeah, it's kind of like a gouache brush. I'm familiar with gouache, so maybe that's why this brush speaks to me a little bit. I mean, people say that brushes don't matter, but they kind of do in a way, because like, they don't matter, but if you can have a brush, but it's not a guarantee that it's going to give you what you want unless you know how to use it. So I mean, brushes do matter, but if you don't know what you're trying to achieve with it, then yeah, then obviously like you're wasting your time. So, okay, let's go back to this guy and let's see if we can maybe work some things out here. So I'm gonna go back to this guy. I'm gonna get rid of all this shit that I don't want. So in my head, if I draw lines first, that might help out here a little bit more. So okay, so that's like what I want to happen. No guarantee that's what's gonna actually happen, but that's like the motion that I'm seeing. Right there, and then there. Which means that this guy will have to go a little bit higher in order to kind of get some of those angles. So sometimes you gotta toe that line of line art and painting. So yeah, so that's where we are right now with that. So I'm thinking if I kind of just make a couple of random strokes here and kind of fix this guy, that I might have a fighting chance at. Well, what I'm hoping too is that if I separate that, then I can actually put in like different colors within colors, right? I can inception it, like, you know, that kind of stuff, where you now have colors within it, and that's always nice because it just gives the piece a little more flavor. So that's kind of the goal here, is if I can kind of land some of those shapes down early on, it's that much more easier for me to kind of get some of those edges. So that's nice. Okay, so there we go. So that might be a better situation. And I like this idea of taking this value and dragging upward. Kind of like that. So that way it kind of borderline blends in with it. So I'm wondering if I even need this layer actually. Like, why not just paint directly onto it? I think is probably the better idea. So maybe instead what I do is I actually just take that layer, go a little bit lighter, and just kind of act as texture, you know? So I think that could be kind of cool. Not sure yet, guys. Okay. So there is some texture here that I want to mess with. Now, I wouldn't mind if this was a little bit more of kind of a grayed out texture here or something like around that kind of color. So that's what I want to go for. And now I'm wondering if this really is the best brush for that, because I could use other ones. Like, I wonder if using something a little bit more of a texture would solve that issue. So if I use that brush, I can go a little bit darker to kind of get some of those halftones in there. So that means I'll have to re-put in that lighting, but that's okay, like in general, just because I know I'll probably have to do it eventually anyway. So that's like the first layer of texture. That's kind of nice. And I can go back to this guy here. And maybe I do, like, throw in some more texture in there. And, or make some things harder or softer, you know, like with the blending brushes. But the blending brushes aren't that great here, or the mixer brushes. They're like not the best. So I do want to introduce some greens in there, so I might introduce that now. I think that would be the time to do it. But I gotta find the right value. That's enough, like, it's gotta be, see, that's not the right value for sure. Relax, buddy. So if we put this in here, it's gotta be saturated. So I think that's the green that I need right there. So we'll use that green for now, and then we'll push this in. And let's see about pushing some more of that green in there. And actually, maybe we don't want this linked because we want to paint outside of it. So that's where we're going to kind of use some of that stuff in there. So because I put that dark in there, now it makes it a little bit easier to get some of that stuff, I feel like, yeah. And then maybe what we can do is make that a little bit darker. Yeah, so some of that those darker shapes here would be nice to kind of mess around with. I'm just not sure like how I actually want to do it, but so there's that. And I'm unsure about it, but these like studies are hard. This is why like I try to practice this stuff, because this shit is like hard, man. I'm not sure how some people do it, but this is a good practice of like interpreting like complex shapes, because that shit is like hard, man. It is definitely not easy. Okay. Okay, so this one I definitely need to kind of go a little bit more of a lighter value. Not that light. There you go. Cool. Alright. So, slowly but surely, like, it's kind of coming out. The texturing here, which is nice. So, I think I kind of have to just stick with it, I feel like. And maybe put in a little bit more color dynamics, I think, is probably going to be the... if it's on or not. Nope, that's not on, so that's probably why. Actually, a color per tip, yeah. Yep, I think that's probably going to be... I don't want it to be that much, because you want to kind of do it like depending on how far away you are. So slowly but surely, I could go back underneath this guy and then put in some of those darker shapes, those darker values, so it matches the shadow. So hopefully you can kind of see what I'm doing there. So that's nice. And then what should happen is maybe we'll erase from that, and then we'll just kind of try to make a nice gradation here from like dark to light. There we go. And we can make this a little bit brighter. So nice. I think it's kind of those kind of like that's kind of the hard part. I feel like as when you're doing this kind of stuff, it's like it looks bad, and then you're kind of like, wait, does it look bad because like it's like, you know, I'm still starting out, like I'm still blocking things in, and I know where it's gonna go, or does it look bad like I'm polishing a turd? That's kind of a hard thing that I deal with a lot, is like trying to understand like at what point do I give up, at what point I'm wasting time. Like I already gave up once, or like already like in this whole piece, and even then I'm like, was that the right thing to do, right? Could I have kept going with it, or was it because I didn't have enough layers, right? There's all kinds of things that were kind of going through my head as I'm working through it. So I mean, it just goes to show like sometimes you got to stick with it, or I think it's more just you probably have to just understand yourself as an artist and understand like, hey, like this isn't gonna work out no matter like how much I try to freaking paint on it, and I probably need to like give up or just start over. And I deal with that issue like all the time at work. I feel like when I'm starting something, like I'm starting a piece, I'm starting a concept, and I'm like is this the right move? And I'm like, well, I'm wasting time because there's a deadline. So that's where pressure kind of builds in, because you're like, shit, if I start over, then like there's less time to make mistakes, like that kind of stuff. So, but I guess you just learn to deal with it. So I want to get some of these like little strokes here. So I'm hoping by putting in these little alright, we can kind of see the form turning a little bit more, kind of like that. And then as that thing goes further out, we should definitely needs to be more blue. I just gotta find the right blue for it. Oh yeah, okay. Yes. Yes. I'm figuring something out. I like that blue a lot, actually. I really like how that hits it. So I got lucky. And we will take that look as far as we can. And so yeah, so that whole layering process I feel like really helped me out just now. I'm just being able to kind of move, scale, rotate some things, I think is a lifesaver here. So we're gonna try to ride that as long as possible. And, you know, I could definitely go down to this guy right here and see if I can maybe create some nice kind of planes here, you know? This brush is really good for like creating form, like creating contour form. I don't know what brush this is or like where I got it, but that's kind of what it does for me, at least, is it creates like this really interesting like contour, like a good sense of like contour and texture is like happening here, and I fucks with it. Oops, sorry. For people that are watching my stream that are probably young, forgot that my little nephews watch the stream sometimes, but you know what I mean. Sorry, I went full ASMR on you guys. I apologize, but I don't really apologize. Okay. Maybe we'll just kind of erase. Ooh. I like stuff like that thing. I don't know what that really means to me. Like, it doesn't do anything. Like, I don't think it means, it's not really moving the notch either way in terms of like adding like to the piece. For some reason I like that kind of stuff, and maybe it's because I'm like a gouache guy, but like, you know, like by heart, but by trade. Did I pan the wrong layer? I did. Well, I'm an idiot. Well, I guess I'll just combine it at this point, you know? Like, who cares? Actually, no, I can't. So, I actually do need to fix that. Alright. Cool. Oh, there we go. See? Fixed. Problem solved. Alright. Oh, I painted on the wrong layer on that too? Man, I'm totally off today. I'm wrong layer everything. Just call me wrong layer Kalen. Alright. Whatever. It's not the end of the world, but... Okay, what is that? Cool. Alright, let's go back to this guy right here. I don't think it needs to be... Maybe it needs to be that color. I feel like that's like... Oh, I don't like that. Man, green's so freaking hard to work with, dude, sometimes. Like, I hate working with green, like, sometimes. There's one color that, like, I hate putting in my environments, like... Not because, like, it's not a good idea, but just because I don't like working with it, is green. Just because there's warm greens and there's cool greens, and like if you don't choose the right one, it just like makes everything stupid. Oh, so I like that little zigzag pattern that I kind of made there. Maybe that's what fixes a lot of these issues. So, like trying to find the right stroke is like kind of important too. Like in terms of like the motion that you use with the stylist, like trying to get that motion to kind of like be kind of random, but yet have some kind of like see that kind of worked right there. I got lucky there. And then this brush that I'm erasing with is like really, really nice. So what eraser is this brush? What erasing brush is this? I have no clue. But now I'm afraid to like switch off of it because it's like super nice. So definitely may have to go back to a textured brush. Ooh, what's this? Because I'm feeling confident now, I'm kind of like, can I like throw in some things here to kind of like be random? What the fuck is it? What the hell? Sorry. What the is this? Ooh, I like that. There we go. What was that one? 27? 27, you are my winner today. You're gonna learn today. But at the same time, like, it has to make sense. I can't just be random with it. Like, I want to be random, but it should be random in terms of texture, but not the angles. The angles should be very deliberate. And I think that's a hard thing to do sometimes. Because our natural inclination, I feel like, is to want to just go crazy with it. And I don't want to do that. So I feel like after that, I would have to paint over it or something. I don't know how. So maybe back to that brush will help give me that control and just that overall style that I'm looking for, you know. So I mean, it just goes to show, like, I'm totally struggling to kind of figure out, like, how do I get the right amount of texture without like using like photo texture too, because I use a lot of photo texture at work. So I'm trying to like, not saying it's bad, but like I'm like, if I can avoid doing it at work, if I can avoid doing it in my personal work, then I would very much prefer that, just because I do it all the time at work, and that, you know, doesn't build bad habits because you still gotta know what you're doing, but like I want to practice like It's kind of that organic painting style, you know what I mean? So maybe I can do the opposite here. And now maybe we can go back to certain brushes. Like I'm probably overdue for a purge. A brush purge, you know what I'm talking about? Most people know what I'm talking about. Like, it's like going through your phone and you're like getting rid of people that you don't like. I'm overdue for a brush purge. There's spring cleaning, and I call it spring brush cleaning. I should create like a national event for like spring brush cleaning. I should look into that. How would I do that? In which we all just go through our brushes and we just get rid of them, so that we aren't brush hoarders like myself. Someone find a date for me and I'm gonna start it. I'm gonna start a trend. And by start a trend, I mean probably get AJ to do it, and then he'll start it because he's more popular. Okay, alright. Now I could probably use some clouds in this guy. A little bit. And I have no idea what I'm doing with this edge, but like I don't like it. And I don't know how to fix it. So that's why I'm kind of like I'll probably come back and watch this video and I'll watch myself noodle with this edge for God knows how long, and it's not doing anything, and it's like borderline driving me insane. So when in doubt, like you just gotta work big, like make a bigger stroke when that happens, and that will usually kind of solve the problem, which it just did right there. For real though, what eraser brush is this? Because I seriously need to save it. I like this brush a lot. I'm loving this, ooh, it's so sexy. It's good. I have no clue what brush this is. Whether it's a tool or not, I have no clue. Maybe I can just save it, I guess? Let me go to and hit F5. Yeah, let's just save it. Let's just do it to find new brush CFAT. Flat bristle one, erase. I'm gonna save the tool settings actually. Include tool settings. What the hell? Why is that even showing up? Okay, cool. We're there. We're doing things. Why is it not on my Facebook? All right. Okay. But I don't know. All right, so I'm wondering too if I should put some stuff on the top, you know, like right here. But that will be another question for another day because we are at 8 o'clock. So we'll see if there's any last minute questions or comments, whatever, and be like, Kalen, you suck. And then we can actually, maybe I'll try to finish this up later, or I might even try to do it again. So like another thing that I'll do too, by the way, is I'll like do a painting like over and over again, and I'll just like keep redoing it until I like the result. So like I might start this from scratch and I'll save this, and because I learned a lot, and then I'm like, okay, what if I do it again from scratch, like knowing what I know now? Like, how would I approach it differently? And so, like, this seems like one of those paintings where, like, I learned a lot just now, but I probably might go back and just redo it completely because now I'm like, shit, I've already kind of figured out the problems that like probably would happen. And so it's kind of like restarting like a game when you're kind of like when you're playing like a RPG or some shit, and then like you hit some problems and you're like, you know what, let's just start over, because I know I'm already gonna like, I know I'm like, I've probably gone too far. So sometimes I like to do that. I like to just start from scratch and just be like, you know what, like, I liked what I learned, but I'd rather just start over now, because now I know the exact problems. That's why, like, sometimes like when you lose a saved file, it's actually like it's actually kind of a good thing, just because like chances are it will force you, like, you'll just do it that much quicker. So like if you ever lose a saved file, like, it shouldn't be the end of the world technically, because if you did it and you're paying attention, you'll know the problems that are going to occur, and you should be able to handle them with ease. Just in general, you should be able to go, okay, I know what problems are going to hit me, and I know like what I need to do in order to fix it. So, paint. So cool. So that's a good, we'll call this test 1. Yeah. What Llama Juice, my old coworker, says is the part that takes a lot is the problem solving, right? So we solved a lot of problems in this area, so that I know that if I need to like re-execute it, that I'm good there. So let's see here. I need to save this probably in my Twitch folder, I guess. And PSDs, and we'll call this mountain test. Yeah, so that way, you know, when you lose something, right? Mountains on mountains. Again, I call it mountains on mountains. Testy test. McTesterson. All right, cool. But yeah, the execution is much more faster than the problem solving. So sometimes you want to do paintings just to problem solve, and then what you then do later is then do the painting to actually execute. So you always gotta give yourself more time, especially when you do something that you don't know. Like when I'm doing 3D, like when I'm learning 3D, which I've been doing for the past few months, taking Blender classes, is a lot of it is me just like, let me do this and mess up and like write things down. Okay, now I know what I'm doing. Okay, now I get to execute, and it should be a lot faster in general. So that's where like you got to give yourself time to do that. All right, so yeah, overall looks I like where that's going. So appreciate you guys rolling in. I don't know why my Facebook doesn't work. I gotta figure that part out, but in the meantime, yeah, we'll get it cracking. Thank you guys for rolling through. I'll see you guys probably next week. And we'll probably be doing officially the feedback. Thursdays will now be on Tuesdays. Now that I still have like soccer now, we'll just kind of do feedback and painting all on that one that Tuesday. And maybe what we do is we just extend the time moving forward. So cool. Hope all is well. Thank you guys for rolling out, and I will see you guys next week. Take care, guys. I appreciate it. Peace out.